Welcome back to the Smite Console League. We've got the chill dudes with the chill tunes. Finch and Totally going to be bringing you here the action on the North American side of things.
Flashpoint up against AstralAuthority. Moving to North America should be really spicy. Flashpoint already guaranteed inside the land. However, still up in the hands, up in the air rather, for the other side of Astral.
That's right. Second and third place is still kind of up in the air, just as you alluded to right now. So it's very much going to come down to the final set, it kind of feels like, right? So that's why there's so much tension in the air as we move to the match. Over in Europe, they're playing a little bit more for that momentum going forward. But here in North America, it's still going to be decided here. So let's go ahead and take a look at those standings. Astral 3-2, Armada 3-3. Astral need to be able to grab that victory and move up to that 4-2 spot.
So it's plain and simple. If Astral win, they're guaranteed. If they lose 0-2, they'll be dead, drawn, and even with Armada. Not just set record-wise, but also game record-wise. And then if you look back in their previous week matches, they actually lost one 2-0 and then won the other 2-0. So their head-to-head is even tied.
Oh my gosh.
So we could have a tiebreaker situation.
All right, well, for simplicity's sake, Astral, but for the craziness, we want the craziness, right? We want the tiebreakers, the tiebreakerist tiebreaker. So then in that case, then you want for Astral to end up dropping that game. But that's where we're at right now. Going to be Astral going into this next set, where if they win, it's just that easy, totally. They're in.
That's going to be guaranteed. They'll be joining up with Flashpoint. They're going to need to find the win against the undefeated Flashpoint. Not the easiest task.
No, not at all. Flashpoint have been looking really strong. But we got those picks and bans ready. We'll see exactly what it is they want to prioritize here, totally, as they go into this match. Because, I mean, this is it. When your chance to land, your ticket is on the line. What is it that you want to try and grab for yourself? Astral versus Flashpoint, these two top-end in a console team.
Should be interesting to see how the console kind of transitions as the conclusion of the summer split nears closer to the land setting, because teams, they start off one way at the beginning and then they kind of transition and falter away from how they started off, going for more safe options, where in the spring we saw a lot of Athenas, a lot of Sobex, starting to see a little bit of healers, and we're going to be able to probably see the same thing with Astral on the first pick.
And it's so interesting too, right? Because now the international competition is better than it's ever been, with Rival winning the last land.
Yeah.
How just strong that they look. So you want to make it to land more than ever now. You want to try and claim that title for North America, and you want to test yourself against the very best, you know. So it's so much on the line for these two squads, and it's been clear here in these picks and bans. Flashpoint more worried about Artemis than the Chernobog.
And more worried about the also
the dodgy. Yeah, that's fair.
That's the beginning of the Season 5 spring split. It was a lot of dodgies, Nemesis, just junglers galore, Ratataskers even. But Chernobog being recently added now to the competitive side of Smite, getting that global pressure on your Hunter side to be able to engage on the opposite side of the map this early on, actually gets you some momentum for your solo laner. So for Astral side, Wolves, they rely on him to carry the games to the late game. But what if they gave him a little bit of help in the early game?
This definitely feels like, to me, though, totally, they want to try and get something valuable for themselves. And what is that valuable pick? It's Achilles, right? So you ban the dodgy, maybe a bit of a throwaway, maybe you don't want to deal with it, but that means Chernobog makes it through and Achilles. You get one or the other. They're going to take the Achilles and the Artio for themselves, actually. But that does mean the very powerful Odin is going to be going over to Astral.
Odin's a good idea to lock in those two heavy front liners. Jing can airstrike away from that and look to play passive against Chernobog. Still, even if she gets bullied out, she'll be able to get to the lane very easily with that passive. And that's a good idea when you're looking at this matchup of Michael Checo going up against Cyprexa.
That's actually very interesting, because that's kind of one of the other strengths of Chernobog, is that he can use that ultimate as almost like a free back. It's not too hard to dash into a wall, dash away, even if you're going to your direct lane opponent and not take too much punishment. But Jing can kind of do the same thing with her rapid reincarnation and get back to lane pretty quick.
And that's going to be interesting to see who's going to get the better end of the farming stick, as more bans coming through. Some mid-mage bans from Flashpoint, and same thing goes for Astral. A very limited God pull, but Thoth is open and Janus for Astral.
That's very curious, huh? Where 4 mages get banned, but Janus and Thoth were still available, and Scylla prioritized by Flashpoint over that, so the Janus going to come through. I think the Scylla prioritized, though, because it can get out of the Odin cage.
That's a big point. Hades is another option that you can go. Janus wouldn't be a bad idea if you're looking to escape those cages, unless you're not next to a wall. It's very situational, but the Scylla also good setup for her with the Artio and the Achilles. Great late game damage.
Interesting. Looks like we're going to be seeing the Achilles in the jungle lane here now, and then Artio support. Artio, of course, Druid in the human form, a bear form also, so maybe Astral can try and communicate with Tom, get some good advice on how to take down bears, since he's very good at that.
That's very true. He's not the easiest tender touch with the bears, so a little careful should Artio be.
if they hear that Tom is around, but that's going to be it. It is going to be Delnyy taking the Chulainn over the solo lane, Jumpahhh taking Achilles into the jungle role, and Koiz playing the Artio in the support role, and everything going about where we thought it would on the side of Astral as well. More Wolves taking the Odin over to solo, and then Susano in the jungle.
Looking at the beginning of the strategies, a proxy from Flashpoint in the duo lane, something we don't see very often, but the good thing about Artio is she has great lane presence and clear at level 1, whereas Terra does not. She struggles without her monolith dash combination.
Those supports went onto the Hunters right away, but this is favored so far Astral pretty mightily as Checo takes a ton of extra poke. Inbound and Cyprexa don't quite have this wave to help defend.
Astral are next level. They anticipated that little bit of a proxy, so Inbound gets his monolith at level 1. Normally you either get your stun or your dash. Normally you're stunned, but using the monolith has about a 10-second duration, so if you place it just perfectly outside your dual lane Phoenix spawn gate, you can block the minions from exiting, and that prevents this sort of proxying strategy from being successful.
Certainly can mitigate some of what this proxy strategy is looking for, as Cyprexa and Inbound trying to insist on grabbing this purple buff. Even with Koiz here right in their face, he forces them back. With that root now, Checo can rotate over to grab it and finish off some of these minions, it looks like, here as well. Getting all their farm as Checo already level 2.
I'm surprised they didn't clear the minions there, because sometimes there's some weird instances where if the enemy minions are also hitting the purple buff at the same time, if those minions get the last hit, you don't get the credit for it whatsoever.
That's right. They could steal it from you, essentially, as it would be like order side damage, I guess, on it or something to that effect. So they want to try and avoid that one. In that case, though, they were able to secure it. And plus, you don't want to, maybe have vision there so it's super obvious exactly where you're positioning. But either way, they didn't really get punished for it, so no big deal. As we take a look back at this dual lane continuing on, Koiz taking some poke from this Chernobog.
Oh, finally getting the dash combination, forcing the dash from Koiz. Astral able to stabilize in the laning phase despite giving up their own purple buff. This Flashpoint will now concede a whole wave in attempts to get their own purple.
They're going to drop back to grab the purple, but Inbound right here to strip it away. Cyprexa with too much damage with that second ability already. Curious from Flashpoint.
That was a bad idea, because the wave is more valuable than the purple buff. You already stole their purple buff anyway, so you have the buff advantage. Even if they get your own buff, that's just going to neutralize the buff's advantage. So why not absorb a wave that gives you more gold and more experience anyway?
They end up dropping that instead as they try and grab it for themselves. And a good job there from Inbound and Cyprexa to have that pressure, even without the wall, which we often see Terra's taking early on. As you mentioned, that monolith really paying dividends for them, being able to survive that early level 1, get to the root early on at level 2, and really take control of the lane back from there.
And Koiz just now hitting level 3 off of the last 2 minions should give a good advantage, as Astral are going to be able to push this wave. They're even freezing it closer to their tier 1 tower, looking for some action.
Inbound, stepping forward, he's taking a lot of pokes. So Cyprexa, though, a little bit coming out from Koiz, but these two dual lanes should, for the most part, end up being okay, as we've kind of been zooming in here on that action.
Not much mana left on Koiz. If Astral really wanted to, they could look to play aggressive, but with that lane advantage, if you can squeeze in a neutral jungle camp, you might as well go for it. Surprised not to see Jumpahhh commit to that gank.
He thought about it. He definitely thought about it, didn't he? And then he went right back towards the oracles, and maybe not even really there. Just comes back towards mid instead and just grab those and heal those up. As we did see, for a minute there, it looked like Delnyy had been holding off on what Relic wanted to go on the solo lane side, but once he backed, he did just go ahead and pick up the teleport, grab a couple wards. He went with the Boots 1 start as well instead of health potions, so he might have gotten poked out early, but he knew he could always just pick up teleport and come right back in, so really no big deal. Delnyy leaving himself some flexibility.
A relatively popular strat amongst professionals to hold on to your Relic just to see what your opposition is going to commit to. Is it going to be the sprint, the meditation, or even potentially the teleport? But Delnyy was thinking about, okay, if I get too far behind, maybe I might need to go pick up the actual Phantom. Even though Delnyy could jump over it with that Salmon's Leap, you need a secondary option at times, because that cooldown of the Odin ultimate is very, very short.
Could potentially punish Delnyy. I'm sure that Wolves is going to be looking to try and force out that Salmon Leap as well if he can, or even if Delnyy used it for clear or to avoid the jump. So you're right, it's not always going to be available to get out of the cage.
And just like that, Delnyy did a good job avoiding the bird bomb damage, but if there was a jungler by the names of Layers right around the corner, without that Salmon's Leap, Wolves can easily cage in Delnyy and look for a 2v1 advantage.
Just continue to get poked out a little bit over here in the solo lane as we return to duo. Michael Checo, level 5 first airstrike available. If he does want to use that, they can find a little bit of aggression, but Cyprexa and Inbound playing safe enough and far enough back, that won't be likely. Once Cyprexa has that ultimate available for him, though, he could potentially take that as a chance for a free back or even a rotation if he wants to try and go over and help them grab Panda mid on the Scylla, or even go over to look at Delnyy.
I expect Astral to go for Delnyy sooner rather than later. With these double globals of oBoronic, Janus, and Cyprexa's Chernobog, this should be easy peasy, especially if Delnyy is going to consistently use that Salmon's Leap to avoid the Bird Bomb.
That's right. Once this gets baited out, they say the go button. Janus ults, Cyprexa ults, Cage comes out. They're able to come over and pretty quickly burn down this Chulainn, especially because he's gone right into the boots. Not uncommon, but it does mean that he's not quite as tanky, even with a Warrior's Blessing, as maybe if he'd itemized into some earlier physical defenses we sometimes see.
Really relatively quiet game between both of these teams outside of the duo lane, rather. A little bit of a pull and a push around the purple buffs, but outside of that, these teams just quietly farming away. They're looking for their power spikes because Panda mid,
he's got
now
his.
finishing off the Soul Reaver, doesn't have the mobility, but certainly will pack quite the punch if he finds the targets with a crush.
Or if he can even get Jumpahhh over, maybe find a nice stun for him off the Achilles. Not a ton of setup. As you said, they probably are going to be relying on Sikkim, really, as that best way to sort of lock someone down and get their chain started. As the stun is fine, but it is kind of close range. Maybe the blink initiate from Jumpahhh could really get things going too. We'll see if they want to try and set up around this crush, but it's Inbound who's here to get things started. Root comes out, but Panda mid just kind of dashes away.
Just using the root just to find the dash away. oBoronic could have looked for the ultimate if the Panda mid would have come back outside of that tier 1 tower, but instead just back in the base, playing relatively safe by picking up the tier 2 boots. Some mobility is better than no mobility, so it's a good idea to back, lose some experience potentially to the opposition, as oBoronic is doing a good job farming, honestly, with his mobility, getting the pen boots. He's going to probably opt to go for the Chronos Pennant and just be all over the map.
And that's the part when Janus really gets annoying. Mage's Blessing finished,
Oh, yeah.
Chronos Pendant done, 30% CDR plus the passive from the Chronos Pendant. He's going to be everywhere at that point in the game, and you really don't want to have to deal with it. That's when he's going to be able to truly accelerate his farm. And he's already doing a good job of it, isn't he, oBoronic, on this Janus to make sure that things stay even, so could potentially get worse.
oBoronic has definitely made a big evolution, I think, in Season 5 than the previous ones.
Yeah.
The way he's been able to just play at such a high caliber level and playing the Thoth a lot and playing a lot of these burst mid and mages. It's something to be really impressive once you see him, how confidently he's able to go into, because he just doesn't make the plays off of relying on his teammates to set him up. He'll make them himself if called upon.
And really kind of opening up, I feel like, too. I mean, towards the end of last season, well known for the Thoth play. He certainly was considered a very strong mid laner, but I feel like here in Season 5, he's improved even further, as you said, and done so by not just playing at a higher level, but even opening the God pool up a little bit further and showing everything he plays comes out at that same top quality level. Very consistent now in that mid lane, and Astral going to be trying to make good use of that here again. A win and they're in type situation for AstralAuthority, but has anyone been able to take down Flashpoint yet, really? Is there even a blueprint out there, Tully?
No, not quite yet. Able to take a game from them was Fable and Elevate in weeks 1 and 3, but not able to close out the set against Flashpoint whatsoever. So it's going to be tricky to see how Astral kind of repairs themselves for this set, because it's such a difficult one when they have to reconstruct their roster as well. Keep in mind that Inbound and Cyprexa is not their traditional roster at always.
Cyprexa goes in aggressively. Matt Koiz in some trouble. The stun, though, good to great space. Through space and time comes out from oBoronic. Not going to be enough to help them close the gap. Matt Koiz going to be able to make it out of there just barely.
Barely able to run away from that one. Good damage from oBoronic on the side. He was able to scare them away and do the damage, while the rest of Flashpoint needs to disengage, jump around the corner, but he might meet 3 players.
Stun was good, does get pulled back in. Jumpahhh has the fatal strike, but not even going to get it off in time. First blood goes over to Layers. They catch out Jumpahhh in the jungle.
Very risky to do that kind of a play, knowing how many players are so close to you. AstralAuthority getting that first blood specifically onto Layers and shutting down Jumpahhh. This is where the jungle disparity could start to show its ugly head.
It absolutely could, as Jumpahhh takes that early spill. He's elected to go into Brawler's Beat Stick, not worried about the cooldown you get from Jotuns or even some of that bonus damage you can get from Crusher, plus the attack speed an anti-heal passive flat pin going to be coming out for Jumpahhh here instead on that Brawlers.
Going for some of this is an interesting idea if there's going to be a long team fight, specifically with Inbound around the corner. But against a Guardian that's only level 7, you want to go for the big heavy-hitting items to shut her down before she gets a lot of defenses and health. I think Crusher would have been a little bit better because the healing is also not even maxed out quite yet. I highly doubt that Inbound is maxing out that heal at the Monolith.
Probably not going to be a ton of healing, I agree, coming from that just yet, as Jumpahhh in some trouble in the mid lane, does get caught in that portal, allows for the first bit of damage to come out from oBoronic in the mid lane. Matt Koiz once again running like he saw Tom around the corner or something on that bear.
I can't even. That video was so sad.
Wasn't it heartbreaking?
Oh man, Joe Bro putting on quite the show. Matt Koiz trying to get away, gets stunned out, setting up Cyprexa.
Great job with that wall and the root to set it up. Layers is here, but kind of providing moral support. Michael Checo into the tower. They are indeed going to look for the dive here. Airstrike comes out defensively, so he will be able to escape, but they're going to continue to put in tier 1 tower damage.
I was looking at oBoronic to see if he would try to throw out that ultimate from across the map, but holding on to it in case there's going to be round 2 action with Panda mid being not in mid whatsoever, covering the dual lane for good reason. You need somebody to absorb all that experience.
Well, Jumpahh's here one more time to try and defend the purple buff. I'm a Monster does bring Layers quite low. Jumpahh's here and has the execute available if they are able to catch out a target like Inbound. They can certainly find it. But AstralAuthority grab the kill, grab the purple buff, and they retreat. But look at Flashpoint. They're pulling the Gold Fury. No one knows at half health. What a great call.
This could be risky, though, because they don't have I'm a Monster through space and time not used. Astral had no idea this was being pulled.
What just a great heads-up call. And this is what great teams do all the time. I say this about E United in particular. They never give up something for free. Yes, they lost that pick and they lost their purple, so Flashpoint recognized you're looking for the backs, take Gold Fury.
And the important part of that play was the fact that Flashpoint had a sentry ward deep inside the pit of the Gold Fury. By denying vision of AstralAuthority, that means that they don't have the health bar of the Gold Fury to not only time the through space and time, but aim it properly. Even if there was a ward high or low to see that Flashpoint was doing the gold, by stealing it, you're looking at a 2% margin.
Matt Koiz in trouble yet again. Inbound and Cyprexa have been causing all kinds of problems for the Artio. Through space and time off the mark. Not going to be able to bring Matt Koiz down. So that ultimate will be on cooldown for a little bit, but they are going to send the support back to base.
It's not always the bad idea, though, or a bad thing, rather, if Matt Koiz goes back to base, because Michael Checo is going to absorb all this farm, and that's why Astral is going to look to try to zone him away from this experience. Root barely off the mark there. Agility a little too quick.
Comes forward, drops down the Persistent Gust, and dashes away to try and force a little bit of farm there to get the break through that zone attempt that was coming out from AstralAuthority. They're moving up into the jungle, but there's not really any farm up for them to steal. They're waiting on purple buff yet again. Layers has made the rotation. Matt Koiz on his way back as well. Should be a 3v2 if they want to try and grab this.
Astral stripped away the last one after getting that first blood. Could do it once again if they really elected. But with 4 Flashpoint jerseys around the corner, and oBoronic without his ultimate sitting at about 70% health. Better safe than sorry. Look for another action on a rainy day.
Yeah, it's been a big rotation over from Flashpoint to make sure that purple buff doesn't repeatedly get stripped away. And it's good that they come over to stop that, because at this point, Astral haven't run away with this dual lane. It's not all over, despite them getting a couple picks, so don't let them build that lead.
Good stun into the Earth and Fury. Inbound taking some return poke damage. Ultimate from Cyprexa just to get a little bit of damage reduction and slow down Matt Koiz. Can't really opt to tower dive quite yet, but by forcing both of those two members back, Flashpoint at a disadvantage.
Now, those are both ultimates expended for the pleasure. Earth and Fury came out along with Cyprexa's ultimate on the Chernobog. They didn't use any relics, though. Matt Koiz didn't either. The sprint was already on cooldown, so in the end, it was those two ults traded for a little bit of free farm time as Michael Checo makes it back relatively quickly with the Jing pass.
A little bit of a different build between these two soul laners. Wolves wanting that cooldown reduction as the bird bomb does a lot of damage. Having more shields to escape is important. The slows are a good utility factor for the chase potential or just to save your own life. Whereas Delnyy goes for the Void Shield Merguardian Mail combination. Really worried a lot about this physical damage between Cyprexa, Layers, and Wolves, and that could leave a window for oBoronic to really pack the magical damage in.
Not just for Oboronic to pack in magic damage, but Michael Checo might be able to pack the crit damage in now that Wolves kind of committed to this blink teleport strat. Doesn't have to worry about the thorns as much. Almost very likely is going to go crit either way on the Jing way, at least a little bit. We've seen like one item splashed in, but now should be free reign if Michael Checo wants to go all in.
Really good route, stopping Wolves in his tracks, preventing the jump, and also putting him in combat so that he couldn't blink a little bit closer. Wolves a little slow on the trigger finger, but it's going to be a nice little reset up. I'm liking the fact that Astral are still looking for these plays at very key moments into the game. With Golfier respawning in about 1 minute and 15 seconds, that's plenty of time to make something happen. And even if you fail, you can still respawn to defend.
At this point, though, the gold has been all but evened out. Not a tremendous lead either way. Matt Koiz, though, yet again, getting caught out and controlled. The CC chain too strong. I'm a monster from Panda mid. Returns the favor. Support for support. The resets out. Panda mid looking for another shot. It goes right on the layers and brings him low. Crush over the wall, but Sikkim sets up a double. Panda mid takes down layers as well.
A clean 2 for 1, but Panda mid could be in trouble with Wolves right here.
Perfect!
Wolves anticipated the Sentinel, but Panda mid too patient for that one.
He throws up the Sentinel, never even goes to it. Cyprexa gonna come over. Don't ruin my highlight reel play. Panda mid eventually falls. Cyprexa gets that one to even things back out. Jumpahhh rotates over to the fight. He's trying to see if he can catch out Cyprexa on this Chernobog. Uses Fatal Strike just to cut the distance, and indeed comes in and finds the kill. Delnyy shuts it down. More Wolves wants Jumpahh's blood, though. In return, the root stops more Wolves from coming in to stop this one. Michael Checo gonna continue to chase. Delnyy drops down the war cry and takes the kill.
Couldn't go through the portal in time. Unfortunate set of circumstances for Wolves. Flashpoint getting the better end of this. I think it was a 4-2 at the end of the day there. Matt Koiz fell first for Flashpoint, and they a little bit overcommitted there onto the Guardian Artio, whereas Panda mid was there with the hot cleanup, not hitting the Alma Monster, but the crush damage is good enough, even on a level 14 Scylla. Once you max out the root and the crush, you're packing in the passive magical power.
And if you had any more questions about why this Flashpoint team has looked so dominant here in the summer split, their team fight feels unparalleled. Layers gonna go back in aggressively, but it's inbound who ends up caught. Earth and Fury comes out, but Panda mid pays no mind, able to take him down. Looked like Cursed Ankh might have come out there from Delnyy on the back end of that. We'll check in on his relic situation in just a moment, but Gold Fury now being looked at, and AstralAuthority have to fall back.
Layers trying to make a play, but it was only Cyprexa right beside him. Oboronic was doing the red buff. Wolves was still dead from the grave. And without Inbound, you realistically don't have any beefy frontliners without Wolves or Inbound. So that kind of a play needed to have all 3 remaining members to save the life of Layers.
Unable to find it in the end at Flashpoint. Go from, what, 2-0 to 6-4 now. A 6-for-2 overall, as well as the Gold Fury. What was once even is now jumped up to a 2,000 gold lead, 2,200 experience. You can just see the story in the charts. What was kind of in Astral's control, a little bit experience-wise, has now swung down a little bit in Flashpoint's favor.
And keep in mind that there are land contentions from just this one game. AstralAuthority, they need to win this whole entire set. Doesn't matter if they 2-0 or 2-1. A win is a win at the end of the day. But if they lose this 0-2 versus 1-2, that's a big difference as well, because if they lose both of their games, then that's going to be a hard tiebreaker. If they win at least 1 out of the 3, potentially, then that means that they'll have a +1 advantage in the game, plus-minus.
They'll be at least better from a plus-minus perspective. As you talked about already, the head-to-head matchup, the actual record throughout the split would be virtually even between those two squads, as Flashpoint already have punched their ticket, and we'll be seeing them here at the LAN. We're just trying to find out who's going to be riding with them for that second-place spot in North America.
Trying to make it happen around this right side mid Harpies. Panda mid hits the crush, and just like that, 50% health eliminated from Inbound. And not too much health really in his build. A little bit of physical power or defense and magical defense is all fine and dandy, but without the actual health right beside it, the crush will still melt you. Soul Reaver, Soul Gem, that's gonna hurt.
Yeah, I think Soul Reaver, Soul Gem, Obshard, man, you're definitely feeling it with this build from Panda mid that he's been able to comfortably build into. 3-1-0, level 16. Still, despite his monster performance behind Oboronic, at least in experience, I mean, my man's been all over the map. He's level 18, keeping up with Wolves, and only a level behind Delnyy.
He's able to get a lot of solo farm for himself, and this is the one advantage that Janus has. He's able to clear out mid with the Unstable Vortex, and then basically rotate to any jungle camp he wants and one-shot it, even without the Assassin's Blessing, with the Unstable Vortex, keeping himself higher in experience value over Panda mid that's a little bit slower, especially with his starting build going for Soul Reaver instead of the boots, allowed oBoronic that slight experience edge.
It's so nice, right? Because you can throw the Unstable Vortex and already be moving on to the next thing, dropping the portal. You know, you have to wait for it the whole time, and then when he gets, and he's on such low cooldown with the Chronos Fit Mage's Blessing that it's available again. It's very good confirm on camps as well. I mean, oBoronic really been having a time of it so far here in this game. The one assist hasn't been involved too much in these team fights so far. You see him down there very near the bottom in terms of player damage, but I mean, you're going to be happy that you have a level 20 Janus here in just a minute or two, so plenty of time for him to make an impact. And
it's not just the portals that help him travel the map, it's also that threshold.
You're right.
That increases his mobility, and for his teammates, that's going to be looking to make those offensive plays or escapes inbound, walking over it. Every time you see a Janus threshold, whether you're not going that direction or not, you might as well just step over it for the buff.
It's so frustrating, isn't it, that threshold if you're on the other side and that's slow and you're like, no, I just want to chase, and you stubbornly run through anyway, and you're like, this is
it's like a Habwa water carpet, right? Like, you can't really go through it unless you got a winged blade or sprint or something along those lines. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of frustration when you're dealing with slows, more than like hard CCs.
It feels, doesn't it? It feels that way when you're slow. And you're like, well, why am I so slow? And it's because oBoronic got the threshold coming out at you, or whatever other element it is. This Pyromancer being looked at. Wolves is here to contest. Pyromancer dropped. Instead, they're going to come look for Wolves for the kill itself. He does jump forward. Pyromancer's been sieged. He's at least done that part of his job. Now oBoronic here to keep things even.
Not connecting on the Unstable Vortex. oBoronic keeping his distance very wisely away from a lot of burst potential. Panda mid on the opposite side of him could easily throw some crushes over the walls if oBoronic isn't careful, and that's the one struggle of a lot of these glass cannon mages that don't opt for the Warlock staff. For the health purposes, you're going to be able to get basically two-shot, and that helps out Flashpoint when they have an execute on this Achilles jungle.
Get anything to sort of bring you down in that threshold to make it easier for Jumpahhh to not to get the execute, but the reset off of that is going to spell problems if you're AstralAuthority. That Fatal Strike can be very strong. Speaking of these warriors, they've both elected to go into these Void Shields. I feel like this item has really kind of surged in popularity here lately as just a nice sort of hybrid item here, totally, for these for these warriors, even in the jungle, even in the solo lane, wherever you want to put them.
And the thing is about the Void Shield, it's very common to see nowadays simply because of the recent changes that we did to the item. It's a little bit of a less gold. I think it's like it went from 2,600 to 2,400, and that's not a bad idea to try to, you know, optimize some of these advantages when you're looking to experiment in your build, because of the penetration aura that it gives you. It not only helps yourself, but it's going to help out your jungler when you're looking to dive the backline as a Koiz to force someone out of these team fights. Jumpahhh is going to be right beside them to look for the hot cleanup.
Going to make things even easier with you. And it gives kind of all the stats you want when you're this warrior, when you're trying to be this frontliner. You get some power, you get the procs, the health, and then, as you said, the prot reduction aura as well in terms of physical protection. So it does a lot for them. But look at this 5-man collapse onto the Gold Fury. Flashpoint are waiting no longer, already at about half HP, but Astral are nearby. Up into the air goes Cyprexa. The slow going to be coming out onto everyone from Flashpoint. Inbound gets control at the front. Gold Fury was leashed for a moment, but they're right back. Wolves goes in, drops the cage. Gold Fury could easily break it. She does. It's been leashed for the moment, and Flashpoint have already kind of got what they wanted.
Mad Koiz was forced to use the Phantom, even though Gold Fury did break that one. The rest of Flashpoint feeling confident because Inbound is very low already.
Through Space and Time comes through to give a little bit of extra damage for the rest of the squad. Inbound has already dropped Earth and Fury. Layers a bit alone on the back end of the fight. Meanwhile, Inbound wants to try and chase out Delnyy. Wolves is going to come in to follow up. Unstable Vortex damage is good. Layers pulls in 3 members, and Wolves comes in for the dunk.
Checo lives. How did he live through? Oh, I'm a monster from Panda mid onto Inbound. Takes out his life. It's going to be a 5-on-4 advantage for a little bit longer, but AstralAuthority, feeling very healthy, can still go for this gold.
They somehow managed to send 2 members back, even though they're the one that lost Inbound. Panda mid comes in with the I'm a Monster, shuts him down. Gold Fury goes to nobody, but Flashpoint at least are the ones who find the kill. Again, though, this game very even still. No one able to get a decisive enough victory to feel comfortable grabbing the objective. But as soon as I say it, Flashpoint yet again are ready to start pulling the Gold Fury. They're right back on it. Michael Checo is the one that's pulling it. He has Matt Koiz there in support. Jumpahhh catches Cyprexa with the stun. The moment that he comes out of the wall, that's huge. Cyprexa has to live. oBoronic, though, blows up Matt Koiz through space and time from downtown.
Making it happen allows his team the positioning to keep defending the Gold Fury. It's a 4-on-4. Cyprexa still a little bit low. Layers of Death in the backline does fall, but not until his Typhoon comes out.
Takes down Michael Checo to complete the assassination of the duo lane. Layers out of this as well, had to trade his life as more Wolves jumps in aggressively. Gold Fury, though, somehow still standing. Delnyy drops that war cry, but Earth and Fury from Inbound a little bit better. Cyprexa now has joined the fray with his own ultimate. Delnyy going to be the target as the collapses on portal for the control, and Cyprexa eliminates him. Delnyy, we'll see you later.
Layers of Death, man. He is playing lights out this game in this previous skirmish. Not this one that just ended, but the one about a minute to a minute and a half ago. Being able to hit 3 players with the pull after the blink, and then also on top of that, before that even blink pull combination happened, he zoned Panda mid away so far from the action that he wasn't even a threat to be considered. AstralAuthority now walking away with their first Gold Fury 25 minutes in, feeling confident. Go for this Fire Giant?
They are ready to get it pulled already. Only really Jumpahhh is around to try and defend. But look at where oBoronic is on the charts on player damage. He's jumped up very quickly. Clearly, he's burning through these team fights. Jumpahhh is now stuck inside the cage. Matt Koiz is here to try and come in and try and defend. They want to steal it away. AstralAuthority secured. oBoronic drops it through space and time. Inbounds low. Jumpahhh eliminates him first. Matt Koiz is low as well. But more Wolves wants to try and make the escape instead of looking for the fight.
The pull happened. Layers of Death reviving and takes out Michael Checo, securing the Fire Giant. AstralAuthority, they're in control of this game now.
Now they've got the Fire Giant on just about everybody. Of course, Inbound not going to have that one, but probably the least important one to have it, really all things considered. Astral, with a 3,000 gold lead, have plenty more gold to go farm from the map in terms of tier 2 towers, even a tier 1. That's where this lead can really start to get out of control.
The way that Astral has been pulling and pushing Flashpoint the past couple of minutes has been really impressive, considering that they were on the back foot in the mid game. They had the early game advantage when they found those 2 quick picks in the duo lane, invaded the purple buff, but even despite losing those members, Flashpoint were like, all right, well, we're just going to grab these Gold Furies for free. And then the second Gold Fury right before that, it was Flashpoint that had that 4-2 advantage on the kill counter sheet, being able to get their second Gold Fury of the game. And that's where Flashpoint was starting to make a comeback. And normally that takes a toll on you mentally every now and then, but the way AstralAuthority are able to bounce back just goes to show that even with Inbound taking over Brochacho and Cyprexa, taking over Transonics from Season 4 to Season 5, that this team is still here to play and in a good position to maybe find a set victory to make their way to Summer's Land.
You're right. Astral's one of those names that just carries weight, isn't it? Even when there's a couple of roster changes that goes with it, and they're definitely living up to it here in this game so far. They've done a great job kind of neutralizing some of the impacts. Like Panda mid did find a good ultimate, yes, onto Inbound, but that was kind of it, right? It was just the I'm a Monster onto Inbound. Jumpahhh does come in and find one cleanup kill, but he's relegated to that role instead of being the mid-team fight monster that he wants to be. AstralAuthority have kind of moved Flashpoint around in these fights you alluded to earlier and minimize some of the impact from their big-time players.
Look at Panda mid's build, though. The E-Staff on top of it. Just a lot of item proccers.
So many.
From him between Soul Gem, Soul Reaver. Oh, look at all that damage onto Inbound. And that was without I'm a Monster. Those are your 3 items that procced right on top of him.
Ethereal Staff, Soul Gem, and Soul Reaver, man. That proc build certainly putting the hurt even onto Inbound with the Void Stone. As you said, not a ton of health in this build for Inbound just yet, so that might be why we're seeing some of this damage come out, but these are really cost-effective items, giving them some of those extra protections, reducing some of the protections for the enemy, and really helping them kind of aura support the squad.
Fire Giant buff still around. Astral's waits for another minute, 20 seconds. Under the tier 2 tower is Wolves. Layers is stalking Flashpoint around the corner, waiting for his moment to go in.
Well, when they overcommit on Wolves, that's when Layers comes in, drops the Typhoon, and it takes down Panda on the backside. Cyprexa uses the ultimate so that he can reposition himself. Otto's gonna take down Delnyy. Matt Koiz, see you later. Double kill for Chernobog, the new hunter. They're gonna take down the tier 2 tower first already. It's a 5v2.
Boronic's ultimate hit Panda mid for a little over 1,000 damage, and at the same time, Layers just ripped through with a Typhoon. No chance for Panda Mid to escape that one. He needed to be a little quicker on the Aegis Finger and respect the long-range artillery damage. This might be it, Finch.
Astral Authority are ready to move in. Flashpoint, as you said, have maybe dropped a few games, but not a set yet, where Astral are about to be halfway there. Odin Cage comes out a little bit low now for Astral on those health bars, but Checo has to back. Jumpahhh is able to take down Inbound. This is going to be very close. It's just too much damage. Astral take game 1.
And actually, off of this one game, regardless of the next one or the next two potentially, that's it. They're just qualified to land because this is going to break the plus-minus situation.
That's right. So even though there's the record could end up being the same still, even though the head-to-head could still be the same, the plus-minus should be favoring Astral Authority now after being able to just find the game victory, not even the set victory. But, of course, it's completely 100% put to bed if they go grab this set victory, but already Astral feeling very good. They should be able to come here towards land along with the opponents they're facing right now.
A little closer, yeah. This is going to be your top 2 North American teams represented from North America towards your console SummersLand, and really impressive stuff if they can find another victory to be able to carry this momentum heading into the LAN.
I think that that's exactly what they're playing for right now, right? This just went from, can we make it to the LAN, to, okay, now can we kind of put it to our LAN opponents before it starts? And I think there's a lot to be said for that. We just talked about it in EU, where Revenge needs to be able to clean up a victory they're supposed to get before they go fight Rival. This is different. This is where now you can show you can beat them moving into a big tournament.
And they have to worry about more than just Astral Authority, Flashpoint. They also have to worry about the European side as well. Rival, the former spring winners of both PC and console, could be doing the same yet again in Summers if other teams aren't too careful.
I mean, the mental difference between going into a LAN undefeated and going into a LAN against the only team that's beat you, it's a world of difference. So